The 74-year-old given the maximum 20 years behind bars after he admitted to sexually assaulting or raping nearly 300 patients, mainly minors, while they were under anesthesia or waking up from procedures. Here's his lawyer speaking earlier today.
We were expecting this, but 20 years is little, given the number of victims in the trial. It's time for the laws to change, so that we can have a more appropriate sentence for such an exceptional trial like this. And it's our one regret today, but we couldn't have gone beyond what the law says.
That was a lawyer for the victims speaking earlier. We can now go across to our correspondent, Liza Kaminov, standing by in the city of Vannes for us. Liza, what more can you tell us about this verdict?
Hi, Delano. So as you said, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison. This is the maximum penalty under French law. But after serving at least 2/3 of the sentence, he can ask for parole. Now, considering that Joël Le Scouarnec is already serving a 15-year sentence from a 2020 sexual abuse conviction, this actually means that he could ask for parole within 6 to 7 years because sentences under French law are not cumulative. And he's also been given a set of conditions he must meet. He's been banned from the regions in France in which he operated in to avoid contact with victims. He's been banned from practicing medicine or any activity which could bring him in contact with minors. And he's been banned from owning animals due to allegations of zoophilia. If he doesn't respect any of these rules, he could be subject to an additional 7 years in prison. He also is obliged to undertake treatment for at least 15 years, and he could start doing that from the time he is in prison. But contrary to the prosecution demands, one of the biggest demands made by both the prosecution and the victims was that he be put in a security detention period beyond his sentence, and the court rejected that, much to the horror of the victims and advocates standing in and outside the courthouse today.
So, Lisa, what other reactions have you been getting to this verdict, which came in earlier today?
Well, emotions have been running high. So just a few minutes ago, we saw victims pouring out of the auditorium in tears, holding each other. For them, they said their abuser will not be locked up for life. He could be out within 6 to 7 years. As for them, who have already spent years fighting for justice, they will have to live for the rest of their lives, knowing that justice was not served. With the big question, why more was not done to stop him sooner, and why more was not done to punish him. We spoke to one victim who said it's like having a secondary victimization. He says, I'm crying today because I know there'll be others who will be victims, and the legislation simply doesn't have the measures put in place to handle such a case. We also spoke to the grandparents of a victim, Matisse, who had committed suicide shortly after learning of his abuse, and they who had promised their grandson to see the trial to the end, they said they were very disappointed because having Joël Le Scouarnec in prison does not mean that he is not at risk of reoffending once he comes out. But we also watched some very emotional moments in the court. We saw the judge shedding tears and announcing the verdict with a trembling voice. You could tell that she felt she had killed the hopes of the victims, especially when she said that the security detention period would not be applied. And the explanation she gave was that they could not set a jurisprudence based on such a unique case as Joël Le Scouarnec. Now, the prosecution did warn that investigations are ongoing for a second trial to be put in place for the forgotten victims. Just a reminder, this trial only featured 299 people, but there are a potential 350 victims.
Lisa, thank you very much for that. Liza Kaminov reporting there for us.